What's up, everybody? It's Mikey Wine here, aka Gundamonium Works, and we are live. And we're doing part 5 today. I'm going to do some anime paint schemes. So it's kind of scary. I did a little practice on an older kit, and I'm going to show that first, and we're going to talk about the technique and see how it translates to the actual kit. So let's get started. Everybody ready? Here we go. Right. We got Angel's in, Jason's in, Nick's in. We're all in. Everybody's here. At least let's get this thing rolling. So yeah, I did this last week. I practiced on an old Master Grade Gundam Hainu kit, and there's some mistakes on it, stuff like that. Plus, part of the reason is too is that it's glued together, and so the pins are kind of have like a 5mm tip, some pretty 3mm tip, and I even bought some other ones that have a 1mm. So I was trying to get a variety of different pins to use. These are Posca Paint pins, and I basically watched a guy on YouTube, just like you're watching me right now. I watched how he did it, and I decided to do the same because it looked really good. The end result was good. So, what's up, everybody? And let's get going. I'm going to go down here just toward the bench, and we'll talk about the Hainu and show that off and how I kind of I didn't do the whole thing. I just did a majority of it, and I think it looks good. I mean, for a first attempt, it's pretty good. But like I said, there's some places where I got a little crazy because I was just trying to. It's almost like it's easy to go overboard, so you got to kind of temper yourself to just stick with the basics of it. So let's go down here, and I will talk about. So what I got is a selection of pins, and this is what I'm using for the kit that I'm working on. These I used a lot of these too on the Hainu, which is kind of sneaking in here. You can see him hanging out. I used mostly just the blues and the grays and black, a little bit of white, but mostly here over is going to be for the Queadluun Rau, which I am doing. And I started with, actually got a couple of pieces that I'd started just to kind of get a feel for it. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be it's a little bit unnerving because this is I want it to look good, but also it's only the first time I've ever tried this. So let's go down a little closer and we'll show off this guy. So here is the Hainu and how I started with the legs, and I kind of did the feet, and then I worked my way up, did the arms and stuff. One of the main things I want to do is I wanted to pick, and I think this is true with anybody that's ever tried this, is you want to get a light direction set in your mind before you start trying to apply color, because basically I try to do everything from here. So light from this side, shadows over here. So if you notice, like all the shadows, like on the inside of the legs, on this side, or the outside of the leg over here, that's where the shadows are. And then all the light is basically coming from this side. So I picked one direction and tried to apply those different colors in that way, so it would look like, it's more of a uniform look. But again, there's a few areas where it just got a little weird, like on top of this shoulder here. I used some white here. I was just trying different things out. And this is why I use this old kit. This is an old Master Grade Hainu that I built probably 10 years ago, if not more. And it was hand painted garbage, really. I didn't do much with the head. I did a little bit on the blue areas, and it's a little bit of shadowing. But because all the parts were together, it's really hard to outline everything. So I just kind of didn't get too carried away with it, figuring that this is just a test piece anyway. I do like the way the feet came out and the legs. especially this side, because this was the first one I did, and you can see a noticeable difference in the quality between this side and then this side, because I started getting the hang of how to lay the lines down, how to put the colors down. And so what I'll have to do with the Rau kit is I am going to I had to flat coat everything first, because that allows that rough surface to kind of help the paint grip a little bit better while you're applying these pens. And then I'm going to have to go back over that with a gloss coat so I can put the decals on, and basically most of the darker line markings. I'm not sure how many of the regular markings, like the ranking kit, the ranking markings, the initials, and there's a lot of little detailed markings that go on this normally, but if I'm kind of trying to keep this look in the anime look, I'm going to have to omit quite a few of those. But at least I'm going to do all the black markings, like the striping and stuff like that goes on. Not sure about some of the others, but anyway, so this is what I started with, and I think it came out pretty good. I'm happy with it, the way it looks. And what I'd like to do is maybe break out the photo booth just to kind of take a picture of this with a neutral background, something, because in my hands here, it's still, I mean, it does look like an anime paint scheme, but I'm just holding it. It's kind of trippy to see. And anytime I've watched a video of this being done, it's kind of a mind trick when you look at this, because what's up, George? It does kind of look like that anime look, but here I am holding it in my hands. So what I want to do is take a picture of it with like a blue background or a black background. That way you really get the effect and see if it really looks the way it should. So I didn't do the fin funnels. I did a little bit on the tanks here. But like I said, when I started out, I wanted to pick a direction of light and go with that. So even in the back here, Angel's in, Geo's in, everybody's saying hi to George. Congratulations, George, by the way. Making the cover of IPMS. IPMS is Model Magazine, I think it is. Wrote an article for his Spartan Destroyed Defender, Macross Defender, Spartan, whatever you want to call it, and made the cover, man. Didn't expect it at all. It's well deserved nonetheless. So anyway, looking at the back here too, you can see the shadowing goes from one direction to the other. So light's coming in from this way, shadows are on this side. So all the parts had that kind of that idea in mind, and I think that's necessary to make this look not only to make it look good, but to make it believable, a little bit more believable, because of the direction of light that you choose. So, and you can choose any direction you want. You're welcome, George. Well deserved, buddy. So let's put this guy aside here, and I'm going to show you the first piece that I actually started was one of the arms here. So this red color was a 50-50 mix of Mr. Color 100 and Mr. Color, what was it? I can actually look in the booklet here. 1 second. I can't remember the other color. In case anybody wants to do it. I mean, if you buy this kit, it's in there. Okay, so number 81 and number 100. So 100 is like a wine red. 81 is a russet color, I believe. And that's a 50-50 equal parts mix. And that's where you got this red. To do the shadowing, I was trying to find a color of these pens, and I will back out here so we can kind of see what I've got. So a lot of these are the same color. They're just different size tips. So this is like a 1 mil, 3 mil, 5 mil. And so like white, black, and then there's two colors of this like really dark blue, a light blue. These are the same in a gray, and that's a 5 and a 3 mil. And then you got some pinks here specifically for this Queadluun Rau kit. Thanks, George. I appreciate that. I really like the paint scheme. Yeah, I think it's cool. It was a first try. I'm happy with it, and it kind of gave me a feel for it and got some good ideas. But this is quite a bit different kit to start with, because a lot of most of the surfaces on this are all rounded and smooth, whereas the Hainu, there are some smooth surfaces, but there's a lot of outlining and stuff like that to do, and which is something we won't be doing much on this. But I want to bring up the actual cell, the picture of the, so we can look at this again. Let's just bring it up here. So let's go to my close-up again. So let's see. On the back, this is a good example. The shadowing areas almost look purple, and I couldn't find a dark enough purple paint pen to reproduce that. So I'm actually using this this dark blue right here, and that's what I did on this, and it kind of gives the same effect. Now there's a little bit of black there too, to kind of accent that shadow. But this is because of the strength, the kind of unusual pose that this is going to be in, because she's basically stuck to the ceiling of the hallway that they're in. So I'm kind of just trying to select. It's almost like by picking one, we talk about light direction. Let me bring up the other photo or the other picture I'm talking about here. So this is you can kind of see her a little bit here. This is it. This is her stuck to the ceiling here. It's really not much to look at, because basically I took this screenshot just so I could see the floor, mostly because when I go to build the base for this, I want to be able to reproduce that. But going back to the original slide here, and again, it's still hard to see because she's such a distance away. If you look, she's stuck to the ceiling there. So the arms are straight out, the legs are spread eagle. Most of the shadowing looks like it's coming from above, because the light is actually coming from underneath, like from the floor, by way of like reflection and stuff like that. So that's where I went with this. So I'm just gonna. It's just gonna take a little bit of, like, again, this is where the unnerving part comes in, because it's. I don't want to screw it up. I really don't want to repaint any of this. I did start with some of the smaller pieces, like the arm here, in case I needed to repaint something. I will talk about the gray color here too in just a second. I didn't have a lot. I didn't have another gray color, because the gray is actually a mixture. And all these are custom colors that I mixed up. The gray is a 73% mix of number 80, which is, let's see, number 80 is a cobalt blue. Okay, so it's a cobalt blue, and then a number 73. Oh, sorry, that was 80% number 73, which is, let's see here, that is like a lighter gray. Okay, that's aircraft gray, number 73 here. 67, number 67, 20% of that, and 67 is that is purple. So there's a little bit of purple. It's mostly this gray, but there's just a tiny bit of that purple in there. So in order for me to recreate that light, the light spots, I didn't have a darker gray that I could use. It was either that or black. It was too dark. So I got the idea of using this lighter gray here that I have already, and instead of doing shadows, I'm using this to do the lighter areas on top. And then I also used a little bit of white on top of these the barrels here of these wrist cannons, I guess you'd call them. So I used that to kind of give a little bit of shine on the top. I may do the same thing with each one of the fingers here, maybe even the hand. Going to match the hallway. I'm going to try, Angel. I'm going to try to match everything that I can. I'm tackling one challenge at a time, and right now this is the paint scheme. I'm going to get to the hallway later, and then I'll have to deal with that and figure that out. I'm going to try to reproduce all those details, even the architecture of it, the raised and lowered surfaces. So we'll see what happens there. Angel's hanging out in Georgia, coming to us from the East Coast. So he's on your guys' time your time, what do you call it, time zone, so to speak. So yeah, so I did some of that lighter gray on top, and I don't know if you can see that there's a little bit of that just to kind of highlight the high areas rather than doing shadows. I'm using the gray paint that I'd already painted as my shadow, and I may even use some white to even brighten those areas. Amanda says hi. Hi, Amanda. Known that little girl since she was really tiny. You know, we're all grown up with kids and everything. So anyway, you can see the highlights there on the barrels. I'm trying to figure out if I can do anything on the top here. I just don't have another color to use as like a reflection color on the top. These little grooved areas are going to be filled in with decals. Those are going to be black striping. So as I said earlier, after I get the paint right, I'm going to gloss coat this whole thing again and go back and put the decals on, and then of course flat coat it again after that. So there's quite a few steps going into getting this to look right. And then all those markings those are actually dark black markings anyway, so I'm not worried about some of the grooves here that don't have, if the color doesn't quite line up. Once I put the decal down, it'll disappear. So last week I hadn't finished painting the arms yet because I had a seam here I had to address, a seam a little bit here, a little bit in between. This was not really a seam because it's part of the support structure inside the arm that allows that. So that was easy to fix, but I did have to do those as well as the legs. So here is one of the leg sections. I have not put the disc on the outside here. This is the outside of this leg. I did, however, do the inside. So this was the color. And again, that was another custom color. That pinkish color is 1% number 70, which is, let's see, number 70. That is that is, I'm sorry, where is number 70? Number 70. That says dark green. That's not right. I'm reading that wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. 70%, not number 70. 70% number 1, which is basically gloss white. 30% number 63, which is pink. And then just a dash of, it says a little. It doesn't even tell you a percentage. It just says a little of 67, which is purple. So there's a tiny little bit of purple in there. It's mostly pink and white. When I got done painting these by themselves, and you can see this color, it was to me, it was a little too pinkish. Maybe put a little bit, when I mixed my color up, it was a little too much. So I just went over and dusted these with some white again to kind of lighten them up. And that way I've got my two colors here going down to create the shadows on this. So this is the airbrushed color here, and then these are these two pinks. I'm not even sure if I'm going to use this guy yet, but it's basically these two colors here that made this. So you got the lighter and the darker pink. And I haven't pressed this on. I just kind of held it there so I could do the edges and get it all cleaned up. These paints are not exactly, I mean, they will rub off if you keep handling them. So I'm kind of trying to try and not do a lot of handling of the parts once I put it down. And I noticed that this lighter pink color too also took a couple of passes. After I cleared it, or I did it the first time, there was a lot of the paint. It just wasn't it was rather opaque, and it wasn't covering the other, the regular paint underneath. These are all been flat coated, so they're a little bit rough, and that's necessary for these pens to actually gives us some extra grip to grip onto. So this is the inside of the leg. See, this is the inside. So when it goes on the kit, it's going to be, I'm trying to get this where you guys can see, spread out, spread eagle. But anyway, so that's kind of what's going on there. I think what I will do, which might be a little more interesting tonight, is I'm going to work on the main body. end, because there's quite a bit going on here. So here's the torso, most of the torso. You still got the backpack to be attached later, but you got these vents here. These are the, shoulder pieces here that open up. I'm not sure if I'll include the pilot figure because I don't really intend to have this open. But I do have, this is that gray color again that has just a tiny bit of purple. I'm going to do some detail on that. I can show you kind of what that's going to look like here. Let's see. I got to go back and find the next slide here. Okay, so if we look at this screenshot here, you can see what's going on with those over the shoulder there. There's some black and some of that gray. So I'm going to have to go back over with the lighter color and recreate those shadows. I will use the black to kind of define that. You can see a little bit there as well. What the hell? Oh, my mouse. I was jacking with my screen. Jacking with my screen. Okay. I just bumped it, but so then, yeah, this is where I got a pretty good close-up of that. And then I'm also going to use this because I think this shadowing looks good for the type of lighting in that hallway, even though this was a different part of the movie. I like the way that bluish, that kind of purplish color is used as shadowing here, and that's what I'm going to use on the shoulders, which is this big old chunk. So this goes, basically how this fits is these kind of go right into the slots. Once you feed those in, then it rotates down and attaches to the back. So I'm going to be using that slide I showed you earlier as the guide to this is going to be a lot of shadowing here on this basically the backpack piece. What's up, Manny? How you doing? MacDio in the room. So we're just talking about anime paint scheme here. I'm starting to get ready to start throwing down some color, and it's a little I'm a little nervous about it. So I'm going to throw on my mag so I can see what I'm doing. I think first I am going to do this arm before I get to the body here. I'm going to use a little bit of the white to highlight some of these areas on the hand. I think I'll go with the 3 mil. This one's small enough that I can just add a little bit, and this is just adding just a tiny bit of light to some of those areas. Actually, might grab the 1 mil. We'll see how this goes down first. I noticed that, by drying these, they dry flat, which is fine. But they do have to be really dry first before. Yeah, that's what we're doing, cell shading, my friend. In fact, I just bring this back up here real quick just so you can get a quick look before I go on. So this was my practice kit. I did a lot of the shading on. I put a few pictures up on the various chat groups in the Instagram there so you could see them. I also did a post on Instagram and Facebook showing some different photos of that, but that was my test vehicle. Now we're applying this to the actual kit. Let me see how this 1 mil works out. Yeah, this has got quite a bit sharper tip. And one thing I guess that you can benefit from trying this is because if we're recreating hand-drawn cell shading essentially, so there's really it's no problem if you make a mistake, like a line doesn't look straight, because that's okay. That's the way it was done. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think the 3 is probably better. It has just a little bit more of a rounder tip than the 1 mil. So we're going to go with the 3. And I'm just going to kind of just I'm just highlighting the higher areas of this, the hands here, just to look like a little bit of reflection. Like that. And then this is what technically kind of like the thumb here. So this one's going to have it on the inside. All right. And then there's a little bit on the sides. Again, this is quite a bit different than the Hainu because all these surfaces are all smooth and kind of curvy, and so even though the Hainu was a good practice vehicle, it's a little bit harder to compare the two because they're just not. This doesn't have all the little facets and flat surfaces to. But I think that looks pretty good. I mean, just a little bit of that. Those accents just to highlight those high areas. Okay, let's do some damage to this to the main body here. There's a few things too that go in here, like these little holes in the front. Those are for another set of cannons here. These are done in the gray, so they're on like a ball joint, so they can actually be directional once you install them. I'm going to probably color these. Well, actually, I am going to color these first. There's no probably about it. I'll color them first and then install them later. I need my tweezers here. I did my panel lining. I got a couple little fibers here that showed up after I did my clear coat. So I'm just going to kind of grab those, get rid of them. It's one thing about once you decide to apply a clear coat is when all your little hair, little lint fibers will show up quite easily. So I'm going to end up using that gray again to highlight the top of this. Shadowing, using the original paint as the shadow. And we'll do that, but do that just maybe a little bit later. Let's grab that and put it back on the skewer here. So I've also got the forearm here. This is part of the arm. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but so I've got. This is the elbow, so this piece goes in like so, and then this attaches to the shoulder here. These also rotate as well. So not only does this peg rotate in the shoulder, but also the shoulder, basically the armor, will also rotate if necessary. So it's really easy to pose this, as far as the arms are concerned. But I think I'm going to wait on that because I'm going to have to figure out the direction of my shadowing and stuff like that. I'm just going to start with these vents, and let's see. I guess we'll use this picture here. It's a pretty good shot. Start with the black. I've got a new, and these just showed up today. And this is a 1 mil, so I get a pretty decent fine tip. And they make even smaller ones, but this is probably fine for what I need. So I'm just going to kind of open this up so I don't have to worry about getting any of the paint onto some of my other surfaces here. We're just going to draw in some shadows. And it's okay, you can add more if you need it, Does passcode dry leveled? Good question, Manny. You put that on the screen here. Oops, gosh, why does it do that? Sometimes I go to click on it and it just like runs all the way up the screen. For the most part, I think the answer to your question is it levels decently. It depends on, even kind of depends on the color. But because some of them cover better, and that's better when it comes to the leveling aspect that you're talking about. If you don't have to go back over and put more color down to because some of them are a little opaque and you can kind of see the color underneath. So if you have to put more down, do another layer, that makes it a little bit thicker. But I guess that remains to be seen when I go to clear coat this and see. I'm going to use clear gloss to level everything out, so I may have to apply more than one layer, of clear coat to kind of try to level everything out. But I think it's a very good question, because I noticed that when I was playing around with the high noon doing that, it was just, it was like, okay, it's working, but there's there are some little bit of some things you need to think about when you're doing this. I like that idea. I'm going to do a little bit of that here. I'm going to just I like having these little, just a little, it looks like a little bit of separation there, but it's done as kind of like it's a shadow, but it's also, it gives the effect of a glare, like a little bit of shine to it. And I'm just going into the groove here and then working my way down. And the black obviously covers very, very well. This gray is not quite as good. I've noticed, especially, well, the High Noon 2 was also hand painted, so the colors that I used were flat colors, but because it was flat to me a paint, they were still pretty smooth, and I think that's why I had a little bit of difficulty with coloring the. Some of them where you could tell where it wasn't flat. It was kind of like the paint wasn't gripping as well. Now, because I'm doing a cell shade effect, I am going to go over all of these outlines and outline every single like a drawn line on the kit. So there will be a black line across here. I've already panel lined the vents, so I'm going to go around the edges. But so far, you can kind of see how this effect is coming together. We're just using shadowing going this direction. A little bit of that. Okay. And what you can do is use the edge. If you want to outline this stuff, just use the edge of the pen. Again, this is hand drawn, so even if you get a little bit of a wonky line, it's okay. It looks perfect that way. Hell yeah, shadow with a sheen. And this is just for me playing around with this technique. I know there's probably different ways to do it. I'm trying to reproduce it as close as I can, but I'm also probably putting a little bit of my own spin on it. Actually, no, I'm going to stick with the one mil, because I like the way it leaves. It's just a faint line, but it is still dark enough around the edges, so now you can see those. It looks hand drawn just by adding that little bit of a dark line to the edge of this. Now I can always go back over it with the 3 mil just to kind of make it a little bit thicker. Depends on how it looks against the head here, because the head piece. Let me get this cap on. I don't know how these. I don't think they dry out really fast, but so here's the head piece. Starting to pop with the borderlines. Yeah, it's crazy how it, just by adding those little tiny details, by tracing, essentially tracing the outside of those edges, it starts to look more and more anime. And wait till I get to the gray here. I'm going to go back over this, and I'm going to use my gray as the highlighter color, as the lighter color rather than the dark, which is what I was trying to do. But because I couldn't find a gray color that was dark enough, not too dark, it was still darker than this custom color I mixed. So I decided to use the gray I have as the lighter color. So since I'm repainting this with and using that as the highlight, using the color I airbrushed as my shadow color rather than straight pop, yeah. So the gray of the plastic, your midpoint. Well, yeah, I had painted this already with a custom color that's in the Hasegawa kit. It tells you the actual percentages, but it has a little bit of purple. It's mostly gray, a little bit, a touch of purple, and then a little bit of like a blue that makes this. So it's actually very close to like one of the 5-star story kids, like the Bang Doll has a very similar gray color like this that kind of looks like that purplish. It's a gray, but it has like purple tone. I'm going to put this on just temporarily, just so I can see how those black lines look. All right, give me just a second. I got to open these up all the way so I can pop this down. This is actually install this headpiece quite a bit later in the build because you have to. Okay. All right, so that's closed. Now I like the way this looks, but I think I'm going to make these lines a little bit thicker around the edge there. I did just the corner of it, but that was with the 1 mil. I'm going to take the 3 mil and I'll go back over even down here, this line, and then you'll see all that quite a bit better. It'll look more like that hand-drawn look. So pop this back off very carefully here. Oh. All right, so I'm going to take the 3 instead of the 1 mil. I'm going to use the 3. And we're just going to go back over this edge. It's not much thicker. I'm just going more over the top edge. Just being careful not to go too far over. But that way, when you close these, you'll still be able to see. It's almost like you're adding panel lines, you know. Make sure I get some paint there. This doesn't really need the paint because it's on the side, but just in case there's any extra on the edge there, I don't need that bleed through. I want to be able to, there we go, that's better. Trying to keep this from moving on me. There we go. All right. There. Let me try this again just to kind of give that one last look. Make sure this is dry. They dry pretty quickly, unless you get a fairly decent, heavy amount of paint on there. That takes a little bit longer, but they do typically dry pretty quick, especially if you just blow on them a little bit. All right, so let me bring this down again. There. That looks good. The face is just kind of stuck on there. It's not really pressed down hard. I haven't pushed it. There's a ball joint behind it, but I haven't really pushed it on there. So now that I've got the black on there, now I can go and do my highlights. So let me pull this back off. It's just a poly cap. All right. So let me open this back up. Actually, not. I might just keep it closed for now. All right. So I need my gray. Does the tip of the pen dry out fast while using? No, it doesn't. So far, that's what I've noticed. I've been putting the caps back on pretty quickly, Angel. The question is, does the tip of the pens dry out? Sometimes it seems like, you press down on them to get them, saturated. And of course, then you have to keep mixing it up because it seems like the paint that's coming out of this is pretty thin. So I think by mixing it up, it helps. So let's take a look at my photo again here. All right, so there's quite a bit of, I'm going to go back over this with the black later. I'm going to do this first, and then I can go back over my edges. So it looks like most of this is this lighter color with the shoulders. So I'm going to just basically run right up to the back edge here. And use this as my highlight color. So I'm like, there's a little bit of a detail, so I gotta recreate that. Let's see how we're gonna do that. So now this gray, you can see that it's lighter than my base color. So I'm using that as the highlight. I haven't touched it.
No.
So thanks. My wife was peeking in to see if I needed a refill, but I haven't touched my wine yet. Okay, so let's see here. We go across. I think. I got to think backwards here because I'm not doing a shadow now. I'm just filling in and making more of a lighter source. And I'm going to get to the small pen here, smaller one, because I want to get into these grooves. And I can go back and repanel in these if I have to. There's nothing wrong with that if you have to go back. So use this and I'm using the thinner pen now so I can do these vent pieces a little bit. A good woman you have there, Mike. Keeping me boozed up. Yeah. I actually wasn't going to. I was just I had a glass of water up here. That's all I was gonna have tonight. I didn't bring anything really to drink, and she walked up about 2 minutes before I started tonight and handed me a glass. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit more of this to create a little bit of a glare here on the top of this. And again, I can go back over my black. I'm not worried about the black lines because I can retouch those. All right, so there's the effect. Kind of like what I was trying to do. And again, I covered up some of my black, but that's okay. And that's why I didn't do it on this side yet because I realized I was going to go back and have to retouch those anyway. Julius, what's up? How you doing, man? Julius is saying hello to everybody in the room. How you doing? Ooh, I don't know what it is she gave me, but it is good. I don't usually drink white wines all that much. More of a red guy, but that one is tasty. All right. So let me grab the 3 mil again and I'm going to go retouch these edges. I went a little bit heavy, but that was okay because I was able to just clean it up with my gray lines. And fix any little heavy-handed errors there. Still remains to be seen how this is going to take to a clear coat. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed here that it's going to be okay. I don't see why not. I gotta get that saturated a little more. It doesn't so much dry out, it's just the tip will run out of paint. So you have to periodically go back and just kind of press down on the tip to all right. Now I'm going to go across these vents this way. Sorry if I'm being quiet here. This is taking quite a bit of focus too. All right. So I think that looks pretty good. And I got a little bit of a squiggly here on my black line, so I'm going to go back in. I'll take the gray again and I can touch up that line. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. In the meantime, we'll do the other side. Who's my stepson? Stepson's blowing up my phone. Doesn't know that I'm on live stream right now, probably. You'd think they would. Talk about it enough. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So now we're going to do the same thing on this side. Same direction. Go keep this. I'm going to have to open it, but I don't want to get any gray on this red, so I'm really trying to keep this. Yeah, I'm just trying to really prevent, from having to touch up anything with actual airbrush or anything. So I'm going to go across here like this. This flat coat, I'm using Guy Notes. Their GX line of flats. I think it's a GX line. Really good flat coats in there. This paint is sticking very, very well to it. I am going to have to go back and, especially this larger field here, there's a little bit, you can see some of the, it's kind of opaque, so there's some of that is coming through. I think it's just because I didn't have enough. Whoa, that went flying. So that's something I need to think about. I was shaking that pen pretty aggressively and had a drop of paint fly off and hit the bench. Fortunately, it didn't get on anything like my kit here. Okay, so now that I got the majority of that down, I'm going to go back to the smaller one just to do my detail work. All right. Let's see here. We'll go. Across like that. I'm just kind of doing these lines to kind of create a little bit of that, like a sheen effect. This will dry. Will dry flat. I have found that if you do like a lot, long straight lines, it tends to fill in quite a bit better and level pretty good. If you're just going around and kind of randomly doing like squiggles, you might not get the finish you're looking for. I have to redo that line. Not a problem. Okay. So it's actually starting to look kind of interesting. Now you see those with the light spots and the shadows. Now it's actually starting to kind of have that anime look to it. I mean, just that little bit. It's just kind of got me all excited now because it's like, damn, I really like the way that comes out. I love it when a plan comes together, right? So I'm going to go back over this other side with this, just this larger field here, just to kind of fill this in. And you really can feel the difference when you go back over these colors because they kind of almost grip a little bit more. And so you want to make sure that the paint is really dry first. Because I did notice one thing, if you go back over these while it's still hasn't fully dried, it actually will kind of almost pull the paint up and not, I noticed that when I used like one of my thinner paint, thinner brush, the pens, I use this like a finer tip one, and it kind of just pulled a line of that the other paint that was already down there and pulled it up. So far, I'm really happy with that. Will there be shadows from the head part filling the shoulder? Let me see. Let me put this on screen and we'll answer that question. Will there be shadows from the head part falling on the shoulder? Yes, quite possibly. I think once I put the head, I can put the headpiece on and shadow it, but I'm using a different color for that. I see what you're saying. You like me like casting onto these shoulders? I suppose, but again, she's mounted to the ceiling. There's a pin to the ceiling, so I can choose either to go straight down or straight up. The lighting in the scene, it looks like the lighting, the way they shaded it, it's almost coming from the floor up. I'm going to kind of shadow because I think I'm going to have to pose this in a way that's she's not going to be so horizontal on the ceiling, you know what I mean? So you're going to see a lot more of that on the shoulders and stuff. So I think I'm going to do from the lighting, the lighting aspect from top to bottom. it's kind of hard to get my head wrapped around it. It's a very good question because this is new to me, so I'm really trying to not only trying to do it right, but just trying to do it. Period. You know, I'm just kind of blowing on this to get it to dry out so I can handle it. I'm going to go back. I've got to do the edges now, and the black. I've got to go around the edges and all the lines here with the black on this side. This side's pretty much dry, so I've got to wait a little bit longer here. There's one little spot I can see still wet. I'm pretty happy though with the way that gray looks on the color that I made, because it does kind of have, it's light, it's gray, it has the same, it's in the same family as the color that I've laid down with paint, with the airbrush, so it fits, it blends really well. It looks nice as a highlight color on that purplish gray. Yeah, I think to answer your question, Manny, it's, had I thought about it, like, but now that you got me thinking, had I thought about it, I might have done this a little bit differently. But again, I think I'm not worried about, I'm not doing like side to side shadowing like I did on the Hainu. The Hainu, I picked one direction and I had all the, tried to do the shadows going in one side to the other. This is going to be more top to bottom, so the shadows will be evenly distributed left and right, just from straight down. So it still should look rather nice. It's just going to be, let's see, where's the 3? This is the 3. Nope. Nope, that's the 7. Here's my 3. Yeah, all right, let's do the edges of this one. I didn't mean to throw a wrench in the flow, just asking because I do cell shading in my illustrations for you. Oh, cool. I'd love to see some of that. This is a new technique for me, so I'm almost just learning as I go here because I've never done this before. The only reason I decided this method was because of a video that I watched. I just watched a guy on YouTube, pretty much the same as you guys are right now. So I'm doing these edges in black too, just so in case there is any little, these fit pretty well, but I just don't want to see any of that on the side. If there was any of that panel coming through on the side, I don't want to see it. Same with the inside here. I'm going to do this all in black as well. That way it's up against the head and it's not going to be visible. No monkey wrench, Manny. I'm just, like I said, this is new to me, so I'm learning as I go here. And I might make mistakes. I might screw this up, but I hope not. I was hesitant to do this live because I was thinking, man, if I do this live, boy, that's going to be a disaster if something goes wrong. But if you remember back when I was building the Valkyrie, the hanger diorama, I was doing that live, and I dropped a piece of the base onto the top of the Valkyrie and just busted the canopy right off of it. Had to reglue that. That was done right on live. That was great. So, all right. So look at these now. That looks pretty darn cool. I mean, especially even the camera. It looks good in person, but I'm looking at it on camera, and I think I like it. I don't know how it compares to your stuff, Manny, but I kind of like it. So let's see what this looks like now. Let's take the head again. pop this on. There's a little lens here that's been dusted with flat coat, but I'll go back over that with gloss at the end to make sure that's nice and clear and shiny. All right, so close this. It's kind of weird how they did this head because it's on a poly cap that's supposed to swivel, but it also goes side to side. So you can actually, if you're trying to close this, you can almost close it, you know, side to side instead of just straight down. You'd think they would just make it fold one direction, but they actually, the way they designed it, it can go side to side. All right. That looks pretty sick. I don't know about you, but I'm happy with that. Now, I think taking into what your question was earlier, Manny, I will add, when I do the headpiece here, I'm going to put a lot of that, you know, quite a bit of that blue. I don't know if you saw the hand earlier when you came in. This was the arm that I had done. And in the original cells, it looked like this was like a really dark blue or purplish color. And there is some black in there too. It's just a little harder to see on camera. But so I'm using this darker, it's like a navy blue. Yeah, this is navy blue as my shadow color for the red. So there will be shadowing on either side as you know, the head of the face will be kind of lit up, so there will be but the blue will kind of go around these areas. Let me see if I can find that. I know I can here. Let me just look at my, this is what I was showing earlier. So oops, there we go. So this is kind of what I'm looking at. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing. You see how there's that blue on either side, and then it goes into those shoulders. So there's also black in there. So and some of that is going to be markings. Like on top of the head, that black, this kind of stripe that goes over the top of the head, that's a marking. That's not just a shadow. So that's going to be done too. But there's also some black over here. You can see some of that is details and something that's on the kit, but that's on the backpack portion. But along like these circles, those are also done. Those are steel. Those are going to be done. But all the black striping here, that's all going to be done with, those are markings. So those will be done in decals. But you see how it's blue. That's why I've been using that dark blue as the shadow. So, but I'll end up probably reproducing the head and the face kind of to look like that. So that's a good start, though. Man, I like that. I just like the way that looks. I'm happy. I'm happy with that. And we'll extend some of those. We can even go, you know, some of these, which would now would be shadows, is the original color. I can extend those lines out into the red as well. So they'll be one cohesive looking line rather than just having different shadows per panel. I want to keep those accent lines going between panels. So I tried to do that with the Hainu when I was just playing around with it, but I think so far that looks pretty nice. So I guess what I could do is maybe even start the head portion here. I am upset about one thing. I don't know why. This antenna is supposed to fold down so you can open this up. I don't plan on opening it, so I'm not worried about it. But there's a hinge here that's supposed to open, and I don't know how it got glued. I did not put glue on it, but for some reason, my hinge don't work. Actually, is this even glued? Yeah, it should be. So it's just going to stay up that way. I mean, you know, that's the way it's going to look anyway. I'm not worried about it. But I was kind of I was trying to test out the whole thing and make sure it opened and closed properly. And I was like, man, I can't get this thing to move. And it looks like whatever thin cement I used might have found its way up there and actually glued that in position. Worst case, I can just take the antenna off. I mean, I didn't glue that in. That's in, just popped into a hole here. So I could just pop it off, get it out of the way. almost looks like it was backlit, key lighting. I don't know what that means, Manny. Backlit, key lighting. I wish I knew what that meant. I wish you had an example. I wish we could put examples of that kind of stuff on screen, like you could in a comment, but maybe you'll have to just DM me, send me a message or something. Show me what you're talking about. It sounds cool. So I want to make sure this is going to dry. There's an extra layer on this side, so I'm going to let that sit. I don't want to touch that or get a fingerprint in it. So we're going to let that sit for a minute. Let's see what we can do here, maybe with this. I do have to pop this off because I think I can do that with this. It shouldn't be on there yet. Pump. There it goes. And I just kind of stuck that on there. There's really nothing holding it. So I got a couple of decals to put on here. There's a V that goes on the top of the head there. But I also need to do the shadowing on this because this is that paint color that I custom mixed. So let's think about this. Every time I go to a new panel, it gets a little scary because I'm like, how am I going to do this and make it look right? Let me look at my photos here. So I got another one. I've got these two I've been using as most of my reference for this. This is a scene from the movie. And then there's this one, which has all the back, which is really nice. You can see everything on the back. So I've been referring back to these two quite often. And I'm still not sure about the leg here. I did this one side. I'm not sure the pinks look right, but who knows? With a clear coat on it, and I got to fill in these. There's 4 markings that go on here to kind of fill in those black area or those notches with black. It might look quite a bit different, especially when I get all the shadowing done on the rest of the leg. So we'll see. I'm sure it'll look fine. I'm just a little nervous about it. Looks like light source is high up and behind the figure from the stock photo. Yeah, that's where I was kind of thinking with, picking a light source, light direction, going top to bottom. If you look at the cell, or this is the scene I could show you the scene I'm trying to recreate. So, I know you've probably seen this before, but I'm going to show it again. So this is what I'm trying to do now. Obviously, my hallway is not going to be that long, but see how she's on the ceiling, but even there, the light source looks like it's coming from the floor up. So I'm okay with ceiling down. I'm going to probably do most of the shadows on the back of the legs and the arms and stuff. So I think this will be okay. Somebody just sent me a photo in the AmFam chat. So if I can zoom in here to that, you can kind of see her a little bit better there, a little bit higher up, but it could go either direction. I mean, I could use top down or bottom up. It doesn't, I'm not sure which one will matter all the way. I just think if I get a decent looking anime scheme, it's going to be good no matter what. I'm going to try to stay true to the direction, but it's challenging to get my head wrapped around it. I'm really struggling with it. Oh, I still got a panel line the inside of this too. I just realized I didn't do that. It's painted, but I haven't panel lined in here. I did the inside of the cockpit, but I just forgot to do the hatch here, the back of this. All needs to be panel lined. You can do that anytime, just not tonight. So let's see. If I go back to, I'm going to keep referring back to my photos here. Back to, this one, not so much. Well, you know what? I might use this one. Come on. Yeah, just because there's a lot more light here, a little bit more shadow here, and more light on the top of the head as well. I really like this though. I like the way this looks. Are you going for a multi-directional light source? I don't know. I don't know, Manny. It probably means light on the keyboard. Oh, like backlighting? Oh, I got you, Angel. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, I'm trying to stick with one direction, but it's easier to think about where the shadows might be if I do that. It's kind of difficult if you start going back and forth. But again, you guys, this is all new to me. So I'll try to answer those questions. I just don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm trying. Just trying to figure out how I'm going to tackle this piece now. This is where most of this goes. It's like, okay. And then once you start drawing paint on, it's done. I don't really want to go back and have to try to repaint some of these or strip them down and repaint them, because the pens can be kind of thick if you keep going over and over. So it's like, you really screw it up, it's done deal. I wasn't too worried about the high noon, so I knew that was an old kit. So let's see, getting back here. These pens aren't very, very cheap either. At least they weren't on Amazon. But they're good quality. They're Japanese, I think. Yeah, Mitsubishi Pencil Company. Yeah, they're Japanese, all right. And I took the guy's video I watched. He was doing an old grandpa kit, and he had a screenshot that showed all the pens that he used, and it was most of all these Posca pens. So that's why I just went ahead and looked for them and bought them. Play as you go. Yeah, definitely, Angel. Play as you go. You come back this weekend, right, Angel? I think you said you were just there for a week. I want my friend back. Don't have too many hanging around here. All right, I think I'm going to go with, I've got a little bit of a mold line here that I can use as a guide. That's kind of like where these shoulders sit. So I may just, yeah, see, that kind of goes right into this. The way this picture is, this screenshot it's almost like this is really far forward. There's not a lot of space here between the front and that protrude, that thing that sticks up. You see that this is like the way they drew that. So I can kind of use my best judgment here and just kind of go run the shadowing up. They've even got just a little, like a gloss, a highlight on one side, some of that red showing through the shadow, and the rest goes up here. All right. Yeah, I'm just going to have to use some creative, what do you call it? There's a word for it. I can't think of it, about doing your own rendition, basically. It's like creative something. I don't know. Back Saturday night. All right. Probably what? Red eye again? You coming in on a red eye? You went out on a red eye. All right. So I think I'm going to go around. I'll go around this whole opening for the face, and then I'll come down here and then kind of come back up around these areas. That'll be probably pretty convincing, since this is going to be, the shoulder kind of goes around this whole area. Yeah, all the way up. So this can all be done, and then I can just kind of bleed those lines up just a little bit past that. Okay. Well, here goes nothing. All right, so my screen was trying to shut down. So I think if I just come down this way and go back up, this is the area that's going to be covered up by the shoulder. So this can all be done in that blue. At least down to there. And I think this area here, also because that's going to be tucked into the body, so that can be done in shadow. So that's going to be essentially covered up. Liberties, yes, creative liberties. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. I'm so glad I got you guys here to help me figure this shit out. I'm telling you, man. Sometimes I am focused on this. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I just can't figure out what the word I'm looking for. So I haven't had any recent snafus with Facebook. Like they haven't flagged any of my videos recently, so I guess we're doing good there, folks. All right, so I'm going to continue this line. I'm going to fill all this in, but I'm going to go over the top here. I'll fill all this in. All right. Okay, and yeah, we got more of that. So, and again, this whole, I don't know if you can see that kind of like an arrow here. This is all going to be filled in with a marking. So that's all going to be black. So I can go into that as much as I want and don't have to worry about it because I will be putting a decal over that. So I think I'm going to, so what I can't see on this screenshot is what's kind of going on down at the bottom here. But I think what I'm going to do is I will open up just a little bit of a highlight there and let that red show through. So kind of like just I can reshape that all I want, but when I fill all this in, then that will be my highlight there. And if I don't like it, I'll just fill it all in. But I think I'll try not to handle this, get my fingers in it. So I think I'll go around here like this. Yeah. This is underneath, so this is going to be, this is down here by this cod piece essentially. So that would probably be shadowed as well. There might be a little bit showing through here, so I guess I can take this and go around here. Let's see. Place that like that. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go back in and panel line all these too, because I didn't do any panel lining on this piece at all. I did on some of the parts of this kit, but I figured by this time I was trying to get in and just start doing the anime paint scheme, so I had to. I didn't do all the paneling on every single piece. I did do the feet and some of the other smaller pieces, but like this one didn't get touched. But once I clear coat everything again at the end here, I'll go back in and panel line everything. This will get filled in. I'm trying to fill it in with this pen, but realistically, it's going to be in black anyway. So, all right. I really like the way this blue lays down. It's one of the nicer colors in this set. It does lay down really nicely. Okay, so we're still filling this in blue. This is basically all in shadow. And then what I'll do is go back in with black even, and I can add a little bit more contrast with some black. So the blue is just giving me my initial shadow, but then I'll go back in and hit it with some areas in black and even make it darker. And that will further accent those shadows. So I'm going to try to do the same thing over here. I'm going to come down and kind of come back up. So I'm going to start by doing this line, because this is the part, again, covered up by the shoulder. All right. Just like that. And then come down just about. Yeah, I'll probably have to fix that. It did go a little bit low. Right about there. It doesn't have to be perfect on either side, because it is going to be, this is recreating hand-drawn, cell shading. So it's basically kind of gives you the luxury of, if you do make a mistake, it doesn't. It's okay. Yeah, this has to be. Yeah, I'm not sure I like that. That's all right. We'll fill this in, but we'll leave some of it exposed. There we go. There. I like it. That's not even on. It's not the same on both sides, but it kind of has some unique characteristics to each side. What's this saying? Stay safe at work. This is some crazy stuff in New York subway. Oh, well, what happened there? Did something happen at work today, Manny? So you're home already. That's good. I remember there was a couple times when we used to do mechanism and stuff. You would tune in while you were working, which was kind of funny. Yeah, I can imagine you've seen some crazy stuff in New York subways. All right, so shiza. Good thing that was all dry. Fumbled it. So you got some initial shadows here on the side. I still have to start filling in this and doing some other stuff up here, including the top of this antenna spire here. So yeah, it's a process. It's not not something you can rush, but I can kind of get an idea. I'll just place this down here and kind of see kind of what it's going to look like. It's not completely on there, but yeah, so far so good. When I figure out what my lines are going to be here and fill those in, it should be nice. So we're going to start getting ready to wrap this up. Just letting this dry. I'm going to put this together real quick while this is drying. We'll take one final peek at it. Didn't get a ton done. I wasn't sure how much we would because of this process. So it takes quite a bit of thinking too. Is like how are you gonna put together. So yeah, so far so good. I like the direction this is going. We'll continue that shadowing on down here, and then I can do the same that I did with the gray here, because these two cannons are going to be in this gray, so that will be highlighted as well. We'll stuff those in there. We'll have more shadowing around here. Maybe we can extend some of these gloss lines out. The way those lines, keep those going out over the shoulders. Extend it. Yeah. And a few days ago, a train conductor got cut in the neck deep. Oh, damn. So you stand in front of a train. Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's not fun at all. Sisters not twins look good. Oh, wow. What did I miss? Everybody's. Oh. Didn't miss much. Okay. Wow. Yeah, we've seen that a few times on people with subways, or even accidental. I mean, I've seen some of these countries where they try to jump on a moving train and it doesn't always end well. It's just kind of like one of those things. Like, oh my goodness, what were they thinking? They watched about 5 or 6 people do it in front of them, and yeah, I can do that too. Nope, didn't happen. Didn't work out. Wow. Well, thanks, Julius. I appreciate it. So this is looking really good. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm really happy with the way these shoulders turned out. I think it looks really nice. I think once I get the shoulder, the rest of the shoulders done here. These also swivel, so I've got to figure out what position they're going to be fixed in, and then I can finish all my lines there. But true, this could be, this is also, I think, some kind of steel. Like if you look at the box art, this almost looks like kind of pitted aircraft aluminum or something, these shoulders. So they would have a different sheen than necessarily the body of the kit, the rest of the shoulders would, so they may not be, those glossy lines may not be traveling, into these other panels. It'll just be its own kind of shadowing going on. So yeah, that's back on out here. And so this is on, I bought a big set of these, a 29 pack of the larger ones, and then I bought another 24 pack of the 3 mils, and I'm only using maybe 25% of the pens that are in it, because these are the colors that I'm using right now. But certainly good to have if you're ever interested in trying this. You just have to have whatever colors you need. Go from there. So let's go back up here. Everybody, thanks again, guys, for joining in. It's about time to shut this one down. I appreciate each and every one of you. Spread the word. Smash that like button. Go on YouTube if you can't find me on Facebook or Instagram. Check me out on YouTube, and don't forget the Amazon shop. Most of everything that I've ever used is in there. A lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Not aside from all the paint stuff. That's from I buy from various people, but all the tools and supplies are there. You can check it out. The description's in the link there, or link in the description, I should say. Fun night. Thanks. You're welcome, George. Thank you. Hopefully next week. I still have to prime the Max batteroid. I have not done that yet. I spent most of my week painting the Queadluun Rau, and you can see actually if I go back down to the down look here, I've got this. These are all pretty much all the parts right here on skewers for this entire kit. Is all there, except for some of the stuff that I've already assembled, like most of the torso here and the back, the backpack portion, stuff like that. So anyway, thanks again, everybody. Appreciate each and every one of you. Be good humans, as always. We'll talk to you soon. Hey, what's up, creepy? Oh, come on, John. You can't join in at 7:30. I'm leaving right now. Sorry, girl. But thanks for stopping in anyway. Mecha Army, that's right, Julius. We're all Mecha Army here, and we can't wait for good old Tim to come back and start doing these live streams again. So anyway, we shall see you guys all next time. Take it easy. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. And here is the outro.